challenge of getting something really personal and memorable out of somebody that you're interviewing on television requires that you truly, deeply be interested in them. And then if you can convey that quickly to them, they really open up, and there are moments. And it has to be something that they want to do. It has to be the right time for them as well as for you, the interviewer. I've been interviewing Cardinal Bernadin for many, many years, but it wasn't until recently, when he was in a moment of crisis, that I think I was finally able to make that connection. Will this change you forever in the sense that you've met this test, you've overcome this great crisis in your life? Are we talking to a new Joe Bernadin, a new cardinal?
I've said to a number of my friends, I've also said it publicly, that this whole thing has had a profound spiritual impact on me. No matter what I say, no matter which way I look, the fact of the matter is that I'm a different person in many respects. And I think that I will be better for it. I see a great deal of good coming from this.
To what extent was your father's absence at your own dining table growing up make you thirst for this family communion?
You shouldn't tell people what you're going to ask, John. I think that my boys, Channing and Jason, understand me now, because whenever I say, fellas, I want us to do this because my dad and I never had time, they start, I know, Dad, you went off to school each morning in the snow and you had to walk without boots uphill both ways. You see, they laugh at me. But I was so hungry for his presence that it was incredible. You know Willie Loman? You know Death of a Salesman? Okay. When I was a freshman in college, the professor assigned me this book and said, read the book and write a report. I was mortified that Arthur Miller would have the gall to discuss my family on the American stage.
I never planned to get remarried. I was very happy. I have 2 darling daughters. I was self-sufficient financially. My family's from there. I have a lot of friends. There was no need for me to get remarried. I never thought I'd ever fall in love. Never.
How did it happen?
You may see tears. It was one of those things that you can't really put in words.
But try.
I can't. I love him more than anything in the world.
How do you feel this man comes into Chicago, Murdoch's man at the Chicago Sun-Times, and he's really giving
I didn't think I'd cry. You are an incredible interviewer. I never cry. I get angry. I never cry.
You okay?
I'm very touched by him.
I was touched by the account that you gave someone of your last goodbye to your father before you came to this country.
Yeah.
When you were 19 or 20?
When I was 19 years old, it was the day that I was leaving for the United States, and my father came into my bedroom and shook me and woke me up and said, good luck, son, and shook my hand and hugged me. And that was the only time he ever did that. And I never saw him alive again after that.
When did he die?
My father died in 1968. So he never saw me on stage, neither did my mother.
How do you feel about that?
Very sad. In fact, they're always with me. Sometimes if I'm sitting in my car driving downtown to the opera, my father was such a fanatic about classical music, or I'm going to the symphony, I just feel him in the car seat next to me, you know. Part of that is a tremendous desire for him to be there. And another is just because it gives me comfort. It's almost like I could, if I could have done that, if only I could have taken my father to the Chicago Symphony. If only I could have taken my mother to a play, but it just wasn't meant to be. You know?
Did it have anything to do with that coming up as a child and not being hugged, not being having a great emotional relationship with him? Does that have anything to do with your decision over the years to live alone?
Well, it's not so much that. That might be part of it, but the reason for that is because my mother and father had a very, very unhappy marriage. They stayed together because they were Catholics and because there were so many children, but basically they didn't like each other very much. And there were lots of screaming and fighting and carrying on and all this going on, and it affected me to such an extent that any time that I was ever dating and any sort of conflict arose, I was out of there. I was not going to put myself in a situation like I was raised in. And it's funny because all my brothers and sisters had very, very happy marriages, but it so traumatized me. I can still remember the things being broken and the voices being raised and the screams and the shouts at each other, and I thought I would never, never put myself in a situation like that.
I don't think people who've been around for 30 or 40 years perhaps understand how great a player you were and how important you are to the history of the Bulls. How do you view the fact that your jersey isn't up there and that number 2 hasn't been retired?
Well, a lot of things like that, at times when you think about it, once again, bothers me a little bit. I'm wondering why I'm not higher up in the Bulls organization at times. And I lay a lot of that in the hands of Jerry Krause. Because Jerry Krause, who recruited me as a junior, came up to St. Francis and said, you keep that attitude, you're going to make the pros. But at the end of my career, I was on so many painkillers, I didn't know what day it was. Jerry Krause asked me one day, are you all right? Are you on drugs? I said, no. But when it came down, painkillers and everything else, if you want to call it drug, yeah. I swear to you, I was happy to retire at that time. Jerry Krause, from that point on, never spoke to me for 18 years.
Really?
18 years. And that bothered me, hurt me to this day. And sometimes
Norm. But Norm, you've got all those great stats.
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's a remarkable, painful story.
I just don't understand. You're taught to be honest, be straight, and do what you're supposed to do every day. You work hard. I didn't miss any games. And it just, at times it pains me. That's all.
How are you with Mr. Reinsdorf?
Reinsdorf has been very nice to me. But under Jerry Krause, who later on, if I can clean it up, it has, become a friend again. I haven't seen him in a while since he left. And he started talking to me. I think he understood. Hey, it was just one of those things. In those days, they did that to you. And when it's time to go, they just throw you out. And that was it.
The question that many would have who know you is, if you're the national Saturday morning host of National Public Radio all these years, and you're covering wars, and you're giving speeches, and you're doing panels, and you're receiving awards, I mean, I think I have some feel for the kind of life that you live. Now, to be a novelist and to write at this level means that you have to have an extraordinary sense of detail. This is what they were eating. This is what the place smelled like. This is what the streetcar was doing outside. This is what the snow looked like. And then this is what happened over here the next day. All of that takes an extraordinary process of transmutation, which most people on the run couldn't come up with in a million years. How did that work for you? How were you able to do that?
You know, I think I have some advantage in my training in journalism, and I don't mean so much that an eye for detail or anything like that, so much as you know how to concentrate when you have to. And I think it gets to be as simple as you get up at 4:35 in the morning, you get a couple hours of writing done before the rest of the day intrudes. You try to put yourself just in a different place. And it helps when you're writing a novel because, of course, you're in the skins and minds of different people. I'm so glad that this book has been so well reviewed and certainly according to sales and everything been some success, because something I feel very strongly, I'm sorry, here in Chicago, it's to write a novel like this is a theft of time from your family. There's no doubt about that, and I'm glad it's worked out well, because I do it for them, but I don't do it just for them. They understand the ways in which this book and this city is so important to me. I needed to get this done, so I'm sorry. It's just so good to sit here with you and to have this novel so well reviewed, because it seems like, this has been worth it.
He beat my sister and me so severely that it landed us in the hospital for 10 days.
Your backside was in ribbons.
Oh, it was not just the ribbons, ribbons, hanging pieces of skin. So much so, again, that as kids, we were hospitalized for about 10 days. That's how bad and severe this